For this next assignment, we're going to be doing yet another color wheel. In this particular scenario, we will be using different shapes, a slightly different approach, and then ultimately we'll be doing a different color application as well. It is going to be using shape primitives as we've done before, and once we get through the building of the shape, I'll describe the color setup, and there will be an example. We're going to begin with a 5-inch circle. It must be a circle, not an ellipse, so make sure that you're using your shift key. I'm doing mine from the center out by holding down my shift and my alt or option key. I didn't pay attention to the specific size because I can always, and this is just an option, have the shape and then I can transform it into the correct format, but more easily I can start with the ellipse tool and just do a single click to get the dialog box and type in that 5 inches because that is faster. And then once I have my 5-inch circle, I need a 1-inch circle at the top. It needs to be in the top center, but I can always reposition it once it's created. If you need access to change an object size because it's not quite what it should have been, then that's going to be your transform palettes. And you can type in the specifics. So if this one was supposed to be 6 inches, I could just change the 5 to 6 and it would update the object and so forth. Mine is the correct size for both, and so I'm okay there. But the other thing I need to make sure of, and this is either with Smart Guides or with the align function, make sure that your top circle is centered on the larger lower circle and that it's nestled or touching right along that edge. Once you've got it in that position, you're ready to start on the next step. Both my objects currently have the default stroke and fill, which is fine, but my lower object needs to not have the fill turned on. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to turn off the fill, and this is because some of the Smart Guide functions for rotation are easier or work better when the object that you're trying to hover over and get an update on doesn't have a fill. So my lower object still has a stroke, doesn't have a fill. My upper object has both stroke and fill, which is fine. And now I'm ready to go ahead and proceed with the rotation part. The very first part of this has me selecting the object, and with the rotation tool I'm going to hover right over the center of the lower circle. So I'm going to option or alt click right over the center of the lower circle with that upper one selected, lower one not selected. I'm going to type in the 30-degree rotation that we've been using and we're going to use for this one as well. And I'm going to click on the copy button and I will get a copy over to the left. Once I've done that, I'm ready to go up to the top, to go to transform and do transform again, which is also Command D. And I'll repeat that as I go, the Command D, all the way around the rest of the circle until I have the completed ring of smaller circles. The next step is going to be to create a triangle that we're going to use for sort of a spoke arrangement in the center part here. My triangle can be done with one of two tools. It can be either the polygon or the star. The approach is slightly different. I'm going to show it with the polygon tool, but just know that you could theoretically do it with the star tool also. I'm going to single click with the polygon tool. I'm going to make sure that my number of sides is set to 3 because I do need a triangle, and my radius needs to be half of the circular diameter. So I'm going to do a 2.5 because I have a 5-inch circle, and I'll click OK, and I get the big triangle popping in here, which is great. I'm going to position it until it is in exactly the right space relative to the larger circle. It should be just barely touching the small circles, 3 of them anyway, along the border here. And once I have that, I am ready to do a couple of quick rotations of this triangle. I'm going to turn the fill of the triangle off because I want you to see something. And I'm going to switch to Command Y, which is preview mode. And once I do, you can see that the center point of this equilateral triangle and the center point of the circle are the same. But if your triangle is even a little bit off, if it's not perfectly equilateral, the center point of it will be slightly different. And this is relevant because we need to create a few copies of this, and if its center rotation isn't right, then it's going to look weird as it goes around. All right, so I'm going to do Command Y, and I've got just my triangle selected. I'm going to do my rotation tool again. I'm going to hover over, oh, I was actually wrong. Look, can you see the little turquoise point there? That's what it's suggesting as the center of rotation for the triangle, and that really will not work. We do have to have it over the center, and I'll switch back over, of the circle for this to work correctly. So I'm going to hover over what would be the center of that circle. I'm going to alt click, and 30 degrees is what I want. I'm going to click on the copy button, and I get one rotated copy of it, and I need to do basically just one more because my triangle had multiple, actually I have to do two more. My triangle has multiple sides, so to get 12 lines connecting these sections up, we don't need 12 triangles. We just need the three-sided triangle rotated a total of 4 times. So object, transform, and then transform again gets me my next to last one, and object, transform, transform again gets me my actual last one. If I click outward, I'm able to see what that looks like. We're going to get rid of the larger circle, which we were only using for the reference point of its center, and we now have the setup we need for this last color wheel. So I'm going to save this because I haven't saved yet, and then I'm going to quickly talk about what the actual color part of this is all about. I'm not going to I'm going to do one video that, regardless of whether or not you're using Gravit or Illustrator, should apply for the color application part of this. So even if you're using a different program, you're going to have this basic setup, and you'll apply colors in the way that I'm talking about.